Good morning. Thanks for joining us for Coffee with a Cop. I hope you have your favorite warm beverage, even if it's not coffee. And I just want to welcome you here and talk a little bit about what the program is for today. Our vision at the police department is to maintain strong police and community partnerships and to keep our neighborhoods crime-free and eliminate the fear of crime in our community. And we do that through a couple of different avenues, and one of them is by working with professionals across other fields, so multi-jurisdictional. Today, we have Loris Rausch from the town's development department, who is working with Matthew, and I'm not even going to attempt the last name, but Matthew is working with Loris on the 2022 general plan, and they're going to talk today about the impacts on public safety. So Loris and Matthew, take it away.
Good morning. I just wanted to say thank you all for getting up so early and coming to listen about the general plan and pose any questions you may have. And with that, because our time is limited, I'm just going to hand it over to Matt Clasico, who is with Michael Baker International. They are the consultant for the town. And if ever you have any questions or comments about the general plan, please feel free to reach out to me. I am the town staff that is working with the consultant on this plan. So take it away, Matt.
Great. Well, thank you, Loris, and good morning. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to share a little bit about our ongoing effort to prepare the town's general plan for 2022. I think for those who may not be familiar with a general plan, it is a long-range planning document that typically looks 20 plus years into the future and sets a series of goals and policies over multiple elements or topics to help guide decision-making in the town over the near term in a manner that's consistent with that long-range vision. So that's really just a general, broad overview, if you're not familiar with the general plan, what its purpose is. But with that basic background, you may be now asking yourself, well, why are we doing this now? And really, beyond just being a best practice and something that towns should do to help plan for their long-range health, state law actually mandates that each city and town adopt a comprehensive long-range plan. State law also requires that that plan must be updated every 10 years. And so the town of Paradise Valley's current general plan was last ratified by voters in 2012. And when I say ratified, that's the other unique aspect about this long-range planning effort, is this plan is ultimately, once prepared, brought to you, the public, to vote and approve. So we are focusing or working towards a voter ratification date for the August 2022 ballot. So as you can imagine, with a plan that seeks voter ratification, it's important for us to get out to you, the public, and to hear your thoughts and ideas about how we can properly plan for the future of Paradise Valley. So what we wanted to do this morning is really take a brief moment to share some of the opportunities that you may have to participate in this process if you already haven't heard about the general plan or been engaged with some of our past efforts. And then we'll close with some question and answers if anyone has some specific thoughts or ideas that they'd like to share. So one of the most key things we're trying to get out to residents is how can you become involved and stay informed? And one of the best ways to do that is to visit our project website at pvtogether2022.com. So if you haven't gone to the website yet, I would encourage you to take some time to go visit that and really look through the various pages to learn about recent efforts that we've completed, deliverables that you can review, as well as upcoming events. So It has a lot of various levels of information, and also allows you to sign up to stay informed. So if you are active and have a busy schedule, you can sign up for email updates, and we'll push those out before key events to remind you to join us and participate. But up until this point, we have completed a fair amount of work as we continue on in this process. And one of the things we've completed is our community assessment report. And that's really an existing conditions report that looks at various data sources, whether that be census or local regional data, or even data from the town itself, to kind of show what is the status and health of the community, and what are we, how and where are we projected to grow in the future. So that report you can view online and maybe learn some things that you may not know about Paradise Valley. But we've also had a series of outreach events up until this point. We've had one community workshop where we kicked off the project. We also just wrapped up a series of discussion hubs. Our first discussion hub was focused on a topic of mobility and connectivity. And our most recent discussion hub focused on quality of life aspects within the community. So you can also go to the project website and view recordings of those meetings to kind of see what was presented, as well as hear what your neighbors and friends spoke about in those particular meetings. And the last item that I'd encourage you to take a look at is our community survey summary. As part of this effort, we prepared a brief overall community survey, and hopefully you were one of the residents that filled out that survey. We had 386 of your friends also fill that out, which is a great response level. It helped us give a statistically valid survey and really give us an understanding, or kind of a finger on the pulse of what's important in Paradise Valley. And so again, you can go on the website and view the broad survey results, as well as all the individual comments that many residents shared to clarify some of their feedback in the survey. So a series of informative reports and deliverables can be reviewed on the project website. But looking forward, there's still plenty of opportunity for you to stay engaged in the general plan effort all the way up to our planned ratification in August of 2022. Over the near term, we're going to be having some work sessions with commission and council over the spring that might even bleed into the summer with some of those work sessions. And then if you happen to maybe sit on some of the committees that the town has, staff will also be giving updates to many of those committees over this spring and summer as well. And then after all of that feedback that we collect through those briefings and work sessions, we'll have our second community workshop, most likely towards the end of the summer, where we'll share some of our draft components of the general plan itself. So at that next second community workshop, we'll actually be sharing some of the results of all of our efforts. So as I mentioned, we completed a lot of work efforts to this point, and one of those being the survey. So you might be curious as to, well, what types of things are you hearing from residents? And as the chief mentioned with our call this morning focused on public safety, here's some of the things that came out of our recent survey. When we asked why residents choose to live in Paradise Valley, the top three responses were the low density housing, the beauty of the natural environment, and third on the list was safety. So, right there, very simple, straightforward question, clearly identified that public safety within Paradise Valley is a high priority. Other questions within the survey looked at trying to confirm more specific aspects of safety. So we did ask residents, what are the top recent trends that have occurred in Paradise Valley over beyond just the overall aspects of why you choose to live here. What are some positive things that you've experienced in the recent past in Paradise Valley? And 52% of survey respondents felt that the public safety services were one of the top recent positive trends in the community. And then even, a very high rate was when we asked residents to identify how they feel about maintaining high quality public safety services in the town. 91% identified this as being very important in the community. And so just that brief summary, clearly establishes a understanding that the general plan needs to show some strong support for public safety and build on the success that the town has already been working towards in the recent past. And so with all this, we really ultimately need your help. We need your help to get the word out about the general plan and to share with your neighbors about participating and sharing with us the observations that they have for the community. Because yes, we've completed general plans in communities across Arizona, but you as neighbors and as residents are the experts in Paradise Valley. And so you have the views and ideas that can really make this plan a unique document that is specific to the town. And so if you have ideas about how we can share information about the general plan in maybe your local neighborhood newsletters or areas around town where you think we should be posting information or specific email notices, please reach out and share with us about those potential outreach opportunities. And we'll make sure to follow up on those because we want to uncover all of those ideas and recognize that residents are busy and they can't always join in a morning meeting or an evening meeting. And so we want to make this as easy and as intuitive as possible for you all to participate. And one of the things I wanted to close on to maybe hopefully have just a brief conversation rather than just a report out about the general plan is I wanted to pose a question, a modified question that we kind of shared in one of our recent discussion hubs. And that specific question is, when we talk about safety, we're really not necessarily just talking about the broad public safety in the community. I mean, that can focus on how safe are you at home? How safe are you outside of the home? But also, how safe are you on the road? And some of the things we're hearing in terms of our feedback is focus on safety within our the various mobility methods that we utilize throughout the community. So I wanted to pose the question and see if any on the call this morning might share their observations about what mobility safety policy and implementation actions should we be focusing on as priorities in the general plan. And so I have a list here of various thoughts that you might feel are important. And so if you have confirmation that you think any of these are very important to Paradise Valley, we'd kind of love to hear about them this morning. And so if you wanted to maybe unmute and share your thoughts or mention them in the chat, we would love to address them.
One question that I have here, which is for Laura, asks, do you have a count on the number of opportunities that residents have to provide input? And they're looking at what things have you already done in the past and what is to come.
Thank you, Steve. Well, as Matt mentioned, we've had about 4 actual formal public events between taking the survey and the community workshops and the discussion hubs. But people can always go to the website, the project website, and provide comments at any time. I'm always available, and my email and phone number are out in the public sphere. So I do receive comments and always relay those back into the project information and our comments. I guess for formal, but we're always available at any point in time, and we will still have a number of workshops with the Planning Commission and the other committees, work sessions, I should say. So I don't have an exact number on how many of those are to come, but we will have one more formal community workshop.
I would also add, Loris, that I neglected to mention the most recent discussion hubs that we had. We did record, and within those, we had some similar polling questions, as I just mentioned on this particular slide. And so residents can go on the website, pull up that recording, and also follow up and respond to a poll online to the same questions that were presented in those discussion hubs. So with this virtual environment that we're in, we're trying to recognize that for residents who may not be able to participate, quote unquote, live in some of these events, that you can still participate after the fact and share your feedback. So those polls associated with Discussion Hub 1 and 2 will be available through the end of this month. And so I would encourage you that that is another way beyond what Loris mentioned as being able to go online and share any questions through the website or questions directly to Loris. You can also answer, or you can also share your feedback through those polls that are open now.
Perfect. Another question that we have here was concerning short-term rentals, and if there's anything what are we doing as far as control of short-term rentals locally for parties, trash, and noise?
So I think that's more for me than anything else. And, we work real hard on controlling short-term rentals. We're a little bit behind the 8 ball because of the state law that says that we need to treat them like any other residents in Paradise Valley. So the things that we can do, we certainly try to do, and just need your input as well. So if there's an event that's happening or a problem property that's occurring at or a problem that's occurring at a property close by you, please give us a call and we can help go out and mitigate it to what we can. So I appreciate, I think it's Bill that asked that question.
If there's any other questions, you're more than welcome to submit them here. And if not, we're always available. You can always reach out to us with any questions or concerns that you have.
I have a question. I see Richard has raised his hand, so I'm going to allow him to talk and ask his question.
All right.
Go ahead,
Hi,
Richard.
this is Linda. Hi, actually, it's Linda Peterson Warren. We're watching this together. And, thank you all for doing this. Briefly, but importantly, I have a question and a very important concern about mobility safety, and that has to do with bicyclists. I've already lost one friend through a bicycle accident and another one who is permanently paralyzed from the waist down. And I find that bicyclists often do not heed the bike lane. Even when I toot my horn, they're kind of reticent to move over to that bike lane, especially for biking clubs. I'd like to know what your thoughts are to better enforce that or better communicate that issue, because it would not only be devastating to the bicyclists if they were hit, but it would be forever more devastating to the car that would otherwise harm them. So I'll leave it with that and be interested in your response. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you for sharing that that background, and we're sorry for those impacts to your close friends. And you touched on the aspects that we're very sensitive to in developing this mobility aspect of the general plan. And you really touched on what other residents are sharing, that, it's not just about when we're looking at mobility safety, it's not about focusing just on one aspect of safety. So it's not looking at just providing bike lanes. It's a multifaceted approach that I think we're looking at from a policy standpoint. And so we want to be looking at education to inform bikers as well as motorists about proper procedures and use of our roadways. We know that state law gives a layer of rights to bicyclists to use our roadways. But there are certain protocols and requirements that they also have to adhere to, as you mentioned about some of those pack riders or Peloton riders. And so we're hearing from the public that is a concern in the community, and we're looking at how we might address that or identify areas within the community that may be most appropriate for those specific type of riders. And then also look at making sure we have other traffic calming measures in the community that might make roads safer when we're having multiple mobility types using the same facility. So I think the answer that we're looking at is a multifaceted one in terms of the general plan, because the general plan is that policy long range document, right? So its role is going to be to establish how we're going to manage these, but then it's the individual ordinances. And then as the chief mentioned, other departments within the community that will facilitate those actions and have more specific efforts that can be undertaken to achieve, enhanced safety within the community. So hopefully that kind of gives you a broad overview of how we're approaching it currently. But as this evolves and we develop policy, we're going to be sharing that with the community. And then you'll have an opportunity to say, I think I really like where you're headed, or I would like maybe you to change this or even add that. So hopefully, as we get further along in the process, you can continue to stay engaged and help us calibrate some of those policies that we'll be establishing.
I see a question from Jay Ozer about improving cell phone service in town. I don't know if the general plan covers that, Loris or Matt.
I can take that, Loris. One of the things that we heard a lot about in the community survey and through our initial community outreach efforts is, first and foremost, short-term rentals was certainly one of the most prevalent responses that we had. Cell service in the community was another one. Pad heights and drainage in the community were all topics that were frequently mentioned in our various outreach efforts. Those are definitely going to be top of mind aspects that we'll be addressing in the general plan. But in our discussions, the town is actively working on all of those right now. So in terms of short-term rentals, the town council and the mayor, along with staff, are staying on top of the legislature, who's looking at various possible changes to state law relative to short-term rentals, and is really one of the front runners, I would say, in terms of monitoring short-term rentals across the state. And so what we're asking residents to do, if you have specific questions about short-term rentals or cell phone, the town has a cell phone committee that is looking into enhancing those facilities. that you can reach out to Loris, and Loris can direct you to the proper department within the town to give you more detailed information on those specific topics that are ongoing, so that we don't overlap or misstate the work that those individual groups are doing.
Well said, Matt. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments that we can answer for you this morning? Oh, Kathy Petza says, what are chicanes?
Yes, chicanes is, other than hard to say, it also is, it's a street design that is almost like an S curve. So if you have a proper right of way and proper speeds, you don't want to do this on a roadway that has high speed limits, but on roadways that have lower speed limits, to reduce speeds on those roadways, sometimes you might have a road that's a straight shot, and that encourages higher speeds. And so to slow people down, sometimes they'll design a small little curve or S curve in the roadway to require people to maneuver through, and that rather than stopping them at a stop sign, will slow traffic down on a particular street. But again, as you can imagine, that's usually a measure that is developed on low speed roadways. A high speed, you wouldn't want people to navigate something like that. But where they're intended to have low speeds, they put these chicanes into a slow speed when we can't put a stop sign because there isn't a roadway there or other limiting factors.
It sometimes also helps limit the cut through traffic if people do want to get someplace fast and they have a road that has these chicanes in it, they tend to go to a different road.
Great question, though. Thank you for sharing.
I also see back to the bicyclist comment for a bit. Joe Kavanaugh asked about enforcement of bicycles and bicyclist law, and we do a couple things in the police department to work with and then also enforce the bicyclist traffic. We do work proactively with the Peloton riding groups and try to moderate that behavior proactively. And then secondarily, we know when their rides are, and we actually work for enforcement of that. So your example was giving citations, and we do give citations as well, and citations and warnings both. So thank you for the comment, though. Other questions? Okay, hearing none. I have a couple of council members in the audience that I want to introduce. Council member Anna Thomason.
Good morning, Chief. Thank you. I just wanted to, first of all, thank everyone for joining us, and also Matt and Loris to thank you both. Matt, we appreciate the professional expertise that you bring to this process, as well as the best practices from other communities. We all love PV, and sometimes it's tempting to just look at the PV way, and you're bringing other best practices to us as well. And Loris, thank you not only for your expertise, but your energy and your passion. And I just wanted to highlight to the whole community that we have created so many opportunities for input. Loris, the ones you mentioned, 4, and then Matt, you added some more. So I counted to date, we have had 9 opportunities for resident input, including this Coffee with a Cop. And I also count 3 more on the horizon between our next community workshop and presentations to the commissions and the town council. So I count 12 opportunities for community input, and I really thank you all for your contribution to do that. That's it, Chief. Thanks.
Thank you. Also see Council Member Ellen Andine.
Thank you, Chief, and thanks to everyone for participating today. Yes, high quality public safety is very important in the town, and our focus on short-term rentals or the party houses, as well as bicycle safety and all modes of transportation safety. So I wanted to give a shout out to the chief and his team for providing us such high quality services. He was hired for that purpose to institute a community policing program, and we're very happy with it. And or at least I am, and my neighbors are, and I think the community is, from their responses. So, but as far as the general plan, I would say, please get involved, stay involved. We want to hear your feedback. I hear about the cyclist issues. I'm in that area on Hummingbird, where we have large pelotons of cyclists, and it's scary at times. And so if you could just stay involved and give us your feedback, and communication is best. And always, if there's something going on, if you see something, say something. So appreciate everyone's time, and thank you to the chief and his team for such high quality public safety services. And we look forward to more conversation around this topic. And I will yield to my peers, and just want to thank everyone for their time.
Thank you. I also see Council Member Julie Pace.
Oh, thank you, Chief, and thanks to everyone this morning. I echo my peers' comments. And thank you for the hard work on the general plan. Again, the vote on that is August 2022. And I agree, there's a lot of opportunities, and they are accepting comments. If there's something that's missed or you have input about, please just write a letter to Loris Roush. She will get it to the whole team, and her email address is up now. So it's lroush@paradisevalleyaz.gov. Other things to remember, we are so very lucky, as we all say, and I know everybody who attends this group, that we have a first-rate chief of police and entire team and leadership team, and that is something to be proud of. It's been consistent, and it's been this way for many years, so it's not something new with the changing tides nationally on some of these issues. So we have best practices implemented in leadership to keep us safe, and I'm so glad that those questions were asked in the general plan, and that those were the results that that people noted and recognized as our safe community, and it's something that they want. And it's one of the branding elements. You know, we talk about our single family, one house per acre homes, and our world-class resorts, and our houses of worship and good schools. But we also, a brand is the police department. And so that is why they have had such a great focus on community servicing and outreach, and do a lot of things to integrate within our community. So that is part of, I believe, PV brand. I would remind everybody, one more thing I'll add on to my wonderful comments by the peers is don't forget to sign up for PV Alert. That's one of the most important things to sign up in our community. It's easy to do, or Alert PV. It's easy to do. It's on the Town of Paradise Valley website, but that is the tool that allows the police department and emergencies from our town and key items to be sent to your text. And it lets you know when there's road closures, or yesterday when we had the pumps break down. And so we had a lot of outages in the community with EPCOR and APS. So it is a very good tool, and it allows for any emergency response, or if we have civil unrest or something going on with a fire or a road closed. So super important to be on that Alert PV. The other thing is, yes, definitely call the police department if there's any issues. I think I talked about last month about the pest control guys where they were soliciting neighborhoods and did not have permits and shouldn't have been doing so. And I believe we're casing houses, but you always call the police department. You can call their non-emergency line. If it's a non-emergency, that's fine. They want to hear something. I think that's the key message, and get the word out. The other thing on the party houses, it was a good question by the attendees. So the short-term rental issue, in my opinion, we should be changing the name on that to call it party house reform. I think short-term rentals confuses the communities and captures people who have some legitimate businesses that are following rules, that are not big mega houses and things of that nature. And so we are dealing with a statewide issue. It is not a Paradise Valley issue. So I like to call it party house reform. And the state legislature, as the chief has said, has limited us from being able to do the normal restrictions you would think if there was a commercial enterprise moving in next door to you. So we all have to work to talk to our state legislators, talk to Governor Ducey, help them understand the importance of allowing communities to regulate party house reform. And we need to be able to do that. And it is not going to go away. The battle this year, neither of the bills were passed. So there is no extra restrictions we are allowed to do. We are working towards the next session. But there is a website called www.neighborsnotnightmares.com. So www.neighborsnotnightmares.com. And that does a great job of keeping up to speed on what's happening. There are recent events that occur that are kept up, but they also send out who to write to at your legislature when there are bills working through the session. Last spring, a lot of us worked really hard. A lot of our residents did, but unfortunately, neither bill was successful. But the battle will continue, and working in conjunction with that industry, as well as a lot of neighbors throughout the valley. So please keep that in mind and stay engaged on party house reform. And please call the police department if there is a party house going on in your neighborhood. We had 250 people at one house 2 weekends ago. Last weekend, there was 80. There's a lot of also inappropriate activity occurring, whether they're selling alcohol, prostitutes, drugs, big just party atmosphere with people and guns and just all kinds of things mixed with alcohol and drugs, which is not great for our communities. And there's noise and trash issues as noted. So please be engaged on that. And then the last thing I'll just leave you with, don't forget you also can apply to be a volunteer on any town committee. We take those applications throughout the year to our town clerk, Duncan Miller. And right now we have an opening on Planning Commission. So please, if you're interested in getting involved and you have the commitment to the amount of time some of these committees take, I think everyone does it for free, and as the council members do as well. And it's because we have a passion and love the town so much and want to keep this very special place what it is. It's a gem for our community. So Julie Pace signing off. Thank you, Chief, and thanks to our General Plan Committee. So thanks.
Thank you. And just to clarify one point, you're in Legislative District 28 and your representatives and senator are very engaged on the short-term rental and have actually introduced legislation that did not pass this year to assist with this short-term rental problem in Paradise Valley. So your legislative liaisons are engaged, fully engaged. Any other questions before we get a second cup of coffee? Right. Stephen, I'm going to let you close it.
The last reminder that I have for everybody is our 9 o'clock walk campaign. And we're just encouraging people to do simple actions to help prevent some of the frequent crimes that occur in our town. And so every night we're asking people to grab their mail, go to their cars, make sure your valuables are taken out, lock your car, set the alarm. At your house, when you're there, lock your doors, your windows, and set your alarm as well. So very simple things, but if everybody did that, we'd help prevent a lot of the crimes that are happening that are usually opportunistic, where if we can prevent those opportunities, we are essentially diverting crime to go elsewhere. So we want to walk that crime out. So by doing a 9 o'clock walk, we walk that crime out. So just reminding everybody, if you're not following us on social media, you can, or just search the hashtag 9 o'clock walk, and you'll see safety tips posted throughout the year on our 9 o'clock walk campaign. Thank you everybody so much for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you at our next Coffee with a Cop.
Thank you. I appreciate the ACOPS members showing up this morning, and also Town Manager Kaimak for dropping in as well. Thank you.